Welcome to In Conversation with MANWAR KHAN podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Do Not Be a Bystander campaign. You can join us in raising awareness about bullying by visiting the donotbeabystander.com, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay informed about upcoming episodes. Today's participants are Zainab, Naila, Mabir, and Kazim. Our special guest for today's episode is Diana Rhodes.
Welcome to our Bullying Awareness podcast. I'm your host, MANWAR KHAN. Today, I'm joined by four young individuals who are ready to share their thoughts and insights on the topic of words matter. Words hold a huge power and should be used responsibly. Being mindful of the language we use, both in spoken and in written communication, can contribute a more sympathetic, respectful, and understanding world. Today's participants are Zainab, Naila, Kazim, and Mahabir. Hello, everyone. Before we continue, I would like to introduce our special guest for today's podcast, Diana Rhodes. Diana was born and raised in Edmonton. Both her parents are immigrated to Canada when they were both teenagers. She is married with no children, but she has two fur babies, a dog and a cat that keeps her occupied. She works with the government of Alberta as an issue coordinator and believes in always bettering yourself with education. Currently, she is pursuing a degree with Athabasca University. In her spare time, she likes to go for walks with her dog, crafting, and volunteering in the community. Thank you, Diana, for joining us today. That means a lot. And Diana will shed some light on the topic and give some tips and advice to our participants. So now that we have introduced our participants and guests, let's get started with the question. My first question is for Zainab. Words hold giant power to shape our emotion and experience. Can you think of a time when someone's words made you feel happy and encouraged?
A time that someone's words made me feel encouraged was when I learned how to ride a bike. I was first scared, but my dad, he's the one who encouraged me to do it. He was always saying that I believe in you, you can do it. And his words encouraged me to ride a bike.
That's a great example. Wonderful answer. So your dad's words encouraged you, right? Now you can ride a bike?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Good job. Excellent. Thank you so much for your answer. Really like it. I really like the example. So my next question is goes for Naila. Have you ever experienced a situation when someone's words made you feel sad?
Well, there was once this time I was trying to do an experiment, but then my brother said, "That's never gonna work, loser." And that time it made me feel really sad.
Right. So that made you sad.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you do? Did you tell anybody? Did you talk to anyone?
So then I told my mom, and he got in trouble.
Okay. That's not the reason you told your mom, or I'm not telling you to tell your mom, but always if it hurts, never internalize it. Never keep it in yourself. You tell at least someone you trust. In this case, that would be your mom and your dad, right? You tell them, or a trusted adult, right? Something like that. But it's all good, right? Excellent. But that was a great answer. But great example. I hope your brother is good now. No, not yet. It's okay. Still the siblings. All right. He will be your best friend anyway, rest of your life. All right. So my next question is for Kazim. So what are some ways we can use words to support and encourage our friends and family?
Some ways we can use our words to encourage our friends and family is by using it in like saying kind words. Like you can say words like good job or congratulations, because all these kind words are what make them feel better and motivate them to do better. Like, oh, I'm being congratulated and appreciated, so I want to be appreciated more, I'll do more. So you should praise them, but that doesn't mean you should do it too much. You should praise them, but don't overpraise them, or else they'll feel like, oh, I'm doing so great, and they'll not want to do it more.
Again, you're right. I agree with you. At the same time, give credit where credit is due.
Yeah,
You always think about that, right? So do not hesitate to give credit if you think it is due there, right? Good
yeah.
example. Excellent. Thank you. Wonderful answer. My next question is for Mahabir. So, promoting inclusiveness and creating a welcoming environment for everyone requires mindful and intentional use of words. You have to think twice, three times before you say your words. So, my question for you is, how can we use words to promote inclusiveness and create a welcoming environment for everyone?
Well, a lot of it actually has to do with bullying because what do bullies do? Bullies put other people down, right? They make them think, no, you can't do this. There's no way that's going to work. There's no way you can make it through. But what you can do is when you praise people, you can actually get them to stand up to bullies. And the more you praise people, they'll learn to praise other people more. But don't make them think like like Kazim said, don't overpraise them because then like if people say you're so strong, you can handle any bully, they'll get like extremely over cocky and be like, yeah, I can do anything I want, and maybe they'll become a bully too. So what you have to do is you have to praise them, but also tell them how to be safe. And another one is they'll feel confident, like in schools when, let's say, you have to do a presentation in front of the whole class. Well, most people are nervous, but if, like, at the end, and if at the beginning, like, you raise your hand and say, that looks really cool, and make them feel that they're doing good because they're worried about doing bad, then they'll feel more confident and they'll feel safe presenting in front of others.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add, Mahabir?
No.
Great answer. Wonderful answer. And good examples, actually. So, with the completion of this questioning, we now move on to the final segment of our podcast. I would like to welcome our special guest, Diana, to share her thoughts and insights. She listened to you guys and just give some advice and tips for them. Diana, thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Manwar, for inviting me to the session. And thank you, everyone, for sharing. I really appreciate it. I liked hearing all your answers to the questions that Manwar was giving out. What I could probably add to it, because, yeah, no, words do matter. Sometimes, that saying, what is it? Stones and sticks and bones can break my bones, or but words will never hurt me. Sometimes that is not true. Sometimes some words can hurt you, and they can affect you, and they can change you from being happy to going to sad or angry and so forth. But always I try to remember, even as an adult, that there's two things you could be, when it comes to never take it personally. Because it's a reflection on them. If they want to be mean with their words, let them. But it's not you. It doesn't define you. Let nobody ever define who you are. You define yourself. And the other thing is that when you have a chance to either be right or be kind, it's always good to be kind, because sometimes people make mistakes, and you just have to remember we all do it. Nobody's perfect. Instead of letting them know that they made a mistake and saying something that's not nice to them because they made a mistake or said something wrong or whatever, just think about it and say, you know what? How would I feel if I did something wrong? Then you remember, I'll be kind. So I always like the saying, if you have a choice between right or kind, always choose being kind, because then you're always right. Another thing is always to be you always have to do this, but it happens to me too. Always careful what you say sometimes. It's always good to think first before you say something. Sometimes take a breath, especially if something gets mad at you, because if someone says something nasty to you, you want to just say something nasty back to them. Just take a big breath and then realize, you know what, it's not worth it, because then you say something, they could say something, and it gets into something, sometimes it can get really negative and so forth, and ruin your day or ruin your party or wherever you're at. So time to just pause and think, what I'm going to say, maybe I'll say this, or just step away and realize whatever they told you, it's a reflection on them, nothing to do with you. I like how your story saying about how you learned to ride your bike. I think that's great. See how impressive that when you encourage other people, how much more people can do. Because if you tell someone you can't do it, guess what? They might believe that they won't. But if you tell someone you can do it, it's amazing how many people can do stuff that's impossible. And you always celebrate everybody's successes. Never take away that from other people. I also liked how you mentioned about promoting praise, and also when you're talking about how bullies, they put people down, but not to overpraise people, because you have to be genuine. Never tell someone overpraising. I like that point. Just be genuine. If it's something that is truly needing praise, let them know, but just don't do it just to flattery, because sometimes it doesn't get you anywhere. So those are my insights. But I appreciate everybody sharing your input and so forth, and just remember that words do matter. But remember, it is words, and that it never defines you. And you are special. You are enough. You are beautiful. You're handsome. You're smart. And if someone says otherwise, don't believe them. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Diana, for your insights. Do you guys have any question for Diana? All right. So if there's no question, then we have come to the end of our podcast. And thank you, Diana, for joining us at the podcast today. So
My
thank you so much.
pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Before we wrap up, I would like to remind our listeners that there are several resources available to help individuals dealing with bullying. The government of Alberta has a bullying helpline, and that can be reached at 1-888-456-2323. Bullying is a violation of human rights. Under no circumstances, bullying is acceptable. As a community, we have a shared responsibility to take a stand against bullying and refuse to be bystanders. Thank you so much for joining in conversation with MANWAR Khan, and see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.
You too.